A surprising Jayson Tatum injury update after that pretty bad ankle sprain. Plus, a look at this 11-1 March the Celtics have had and how the bench has contributed. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jace, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I got you every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts when they play on weekends. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, your favorite podcasting app. We're on all of them, so you can watch the show on YouTube as well. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you are thinking. If you're new to the show, I am John Karalis, a beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, an author. I've written a couple of books. I've been doing this job for about 20 years or so. So I've been around this team for a while, and I don't want to go too deep or complicate my analysis, but they're good. This is a good basketball team. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKDOWNNBA for $20 off your first purchase. We're talking about the Jayson Tatum injury and just how good this team is. We're going to do it with Tom Westerholm. Tom, I didn't go over your head there with the analysis that this team is good, right?
I'm going to try to catch up to you for sure.
I know
20 years in the business, man. I mean, it's
the kind of stuff that only 20 years of watching a basketball team can get you.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
Knowing that a team like this is in fact good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but all right. Well, let's spend the next 28 minutes or so explaining why they're good. Let's start with Jayson Tatum, who I don't know, color me surprised, doubtful for the Suns game. I'm guessing that they're like, yeah, no, you're out, and he's like, no, I feel good, I'm gonna play, and they're like, oh god, here we go with this again. Just say doubtful and leave the door open, and then we'll rule him out tomorrow,
and then we'll put sleeping pills in his drink, and he'll go to sleep and miss the game and wake up mad at us, but his ankle will be 24 hours healthier.
Yeah. And it's just like we were talking about with Jaylen, or both of these guys, like a week ago. You play the Suns, then you get 2 days off and you play San Antonio. So miss the one game and take the 4 days to get your ankle right.
Have to. He will. I mean, look, doubtful, sure. Look, I think doubtful is I mean, that's a positive sign, right? I mean, I thought, last night, obviously there's such a big juxtaposition between him, doing circles on the floor because he just sprained his ankle, and him walking off. Like he looked uncomfortable, but he looked like, like it was clear his ankle wasn't like shattered when he was walking off. And I think any hooper can probably relate to that, right? Like we've all had you land wrong and you're just like, oh, take me out behind the shed and put me out of my misery. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. And then you stand up and a little bit later you're like, okay, it still hurts, but I'll give it till tomorrow at least. It's
the funniest thing about a sprained ankle, because we've all done it. I've landed on a person's foot and turned my ankle, and it sucks. It sucks. And
the language that comes out of your mouth would definitely get a little E next to this podcast.
One of those, instead of the free daily newsletter thing down there, it'll say like parental advisory, and look, when you sprain an ankle, there's a pop.
Yep.
There's a shock of
that,
pain.
Crack feeling is just,
it's the worst. You just feel that. Just remembering that is brutal. It is brutal. It's an ugly look. And for an injury that is, in the grand scheme of things, not so bad.
Yeah.
You're not, as long as there's no fracture or related tear or anything like that, the sprain of the ankle, the first time you do it, especially, just absolutely
yeah.
sucks. And the first time I did it, I was on crutches for like a week.
Yeah.
But then after a while, you like, he's done this before. He's sprained this ankle before, probably a few times.
Yeah.
And so it does make it easier each time. So yeah, you're right. That initial shock of like, oh my God, there it goes. And that feeling of pain, and then you get onto the bench and you're moving it around.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. You set yourself up. There's adrenaline.
Yeah.
You go to sleep and you wake up and you're like, oh God, this sucks again.
Which to Tatum, I mean, if Tatum's the one pushing to it being doubtful, credit to him, because I guarantee you that thing was not feeling good this morning. But yeah, and I mean it's tough, right? Because if you're that's all 100% true. And still, if you're a Celtics fan, if you're a Celtics coach, if you're a Celtics trainer, if you're anybody related in the Celtics orbit, if you're Brad Stevens, if you're whoever, when you see him go down like that, and you're just like looking at your season and just going, no, I need you to stand up, please,
in front of the new owner. And he's sitting there watching this whole thing. And you're like, okay, I just plunked down whatever the equivalent of his percentage of $6 billion. Like it's a lot of money. And like you're like, okay, I'm excited, man. I'm going to be the new owner. We're going to win a championship. I'm going to get up there. I'm going to hold this trophy up. Oh, my best player is broken. You're like, oh no.
My generational superstar talent is writhing around on the ground. Like who never gets hurt.
Right. The first thing that happens, you're like, okay. And you get this big interview on the sideline during the game. And it's like, okay, welcome to the team. Boom. Here's a Jayson Tatum ankle injury. Like, oh God, no.
Yeah.
But the good news is I do think the doubtful portion of it is good news, because it's not your out. And
it's good on two fronts. It's good on you're not out, but it's also good on it doesn't sound like he's going to play, and that is also good news. He should not play against the Phoenix.
That's right. Just so people know a little behind the scenes stuff. If there's an injury that is more serious, there's an email that comes first from the team, and it's like Jayson Tatum injury update. And when you get an email, normally they release it over a social media channel. And we get a special preview so we can report it. That's why everybody tweets it out at the same time.
Yeah. It was also, I found it weird that they sent that one out about Jaylen's bone bruise. Like I was like,
I was like, because that's exactly what it was. Yeah. Because it was like Jaylen Brown injury update. I was like, oh no.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is a big deal. Yeah.
That's when you get that email, you're like, oh man, this is like at least a couple of weeks. This is surgery. This is real, for him to get that email and have him be like, oh, he's missing a couple of games. Like, okay.
Just lie and say he's sick, like everyone.
But just to pivot to Jaylen real quick, he didn't look like he should have been playing in that game. So as I said yesterday, let me just throw this quickly out to you. I understand he's probably chasing the 65 win thing, and Jayson having played the 65 games is a huge part of this. Like, he can sit. I don't care what he does. Sit. Don't come back until you're ready. And then once you're ready, take an extra game just to be sure that you're ready with an injury like this. But for Jaylen, like 2 more games, he's only got 2 more to miss and still get to the 65. And I understand why you want to chase 65, man. Like, people question his all NBA candidacy. He at least has a shot.
Yeah.
It's better than not having a shot by playing 64 games.
On the other hand, he does. And yeah, like you have to get to that mark. I mean, if you're Jaylen and you're playing a little hurt and you score 9 points, that's not going to help your averages. You know what I mean? Like that.
Well, that's
I don't know. It's tough.
It's another place I've been in my basketball life, trying to play through an injury and being completely ineffective.
Yeah.
Where it was back in my senior year in college where I had a stretch where I was like, what is wrong? I was like 9 points, 4 rebounds, like that type of game where I was averaging like, 16 and 10. And you're like, oh crap, well, I can't do anything. But you had to be out there. And there's a line between, am I helping myself? Am I hurting myself? Am I helping my team or hurting my team? So the Jaylen Brown discussion is an entirely different one.
Yeah.
I don't want to have too much of it because let's see how he plays against Phoenix. If he has a good game against Phoenix, then the entire discussion, it's not worth having. If he sucks again versus Phoenix and he looks slow and not himself, then we have to have that discussion.
Right. I think that's abundantly fair.
We'll table that. We'll have a fun discussion about the 11-1 March. How about that? We'll do that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. We know that. The energy of the crowd, the sounds of the sneakers on the hardwood, which is like my favorite, that squeaking on the hardwood. And hey, if you go to a game, maybe a celebrity sighting courtside, you can do that. And Game Time makes getting those tickets easier. Their new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff, shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time scrolling through thousands and thousands of tickets. You check the Game Time app. There are amazing deals, huge matchups. If you want to get maybe you get in on a March Madness thing, or you can do that, sure. Game Time Picks even highlight super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck. With seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go sign up for our new Locked On Celtics newsletter. It's at LockedOnDaily.com. Click on that Locked On Celtics logo and enter your email. I will send you an email every Monday through Friday with Celtics, NBA, and fantasy coverage. Plus, there's links to great Celtics coverage all over the internet. So go check it out there at LockedOnDaily.com. All right, Tom. Celtics are 11-1 in March. They started out. It's nice and clean because they came back for from that little road dalliance. I guess it's not even a road trip, losing to Cleveland. But then they take on Denver on March 2nd, and he went 5 straight: Denver, Portland, Philly, LA, Utah. A loss to OKC, and then hit the road. Miami, Brooklyn, home to beat Brooklyn again, and then road wins: Utah, Portland, Sacramento on the back-to-back. It's not the murderer's row of teams, but this is when you look back on December and January and the little dip that they have, this starts to make up for this dip. And who knows how this Phoenix, San Antonio, Memphis stretch will go. But if they can win those 3 games and go 14-1 in March, even 13-2, that to me, you're like, okay, that averages out some of the dips that they had before, and they're a 60, potentially a 60 win team. And after all of this consternation, to be a couple games, 2, 3, 4 games off of last year's pace, that's meaningless. You're basically on the same pace as last year, which is incredible for them to have gotten back on that.
Yeah, if you win 60 games, like they're inarguable. I don't care what seed you are. If you won 60 games, you're good. You're really good, and you're right there with everybody else. I mean, obviously, it's funny to nitpick during a stretch like this, and you're like, well, the losses they had were Cleveland and OKC. It's like, that's too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a great stretch. I mean, they're playing so well, and it's just, you can start to see, there was before he got injured yesterday, there was a play that Tatum made that it was so casual, and I felt like it summed them up so nicely, where he did this kind of like wraparound pass thing to the corner, And like
Yeah.
it jump started. He didn't get the assist. He jump started like a drive and kick. I think Derek White hit the three, or did the drive and kick. I should have written it down. I don't remember. But Derek White was involved somehow, and then there were three wasn't involved. And you guys can find it. But it was like Tatum threw the pass, and when he got done throwing the pass, he was almost just like dangling his arms, just kind of watching. Like it was just like he's like, this team is on such a string right now that as soon as Tatum makes that pass out of like a double team, that creates the 2-on-1, everybody just knows what's going to happen. It's so perfectly set up and so perfectly put together right now that, I mean, you do expect them to win a tough, like the teams aren't that tough, but a tough back-to-back, like on the road. Yeah. You're just kind of like when they beat Sacramento by double digits, you're just kind of like, oh, good. I mean, if they had lost, it would have been like, okay, back-to-back, Tatum went out. But they didn't, and you don't expect them to. And I think that's kind of where this team is, where it's just like, I don't know, they're really good.
They're really
like
good.
You said at the top. You're like your crack analysis at the top. They're really good.
They have so in December, they were 8-6. And they shot 35.5% from three. In January, they were 10-6, and they shot 36% from three. February, they 8-3, and they shot 39%. In March, they're 11-1. They're shooting 37%. So you can go back and be like, well, when you don't hit shots consistently, you're not good. You lose some of these games that are winnable. And when you hit some of these shots, you go back and look at they're not blowing all of these teams out. They beat the Nets by 2. They beat the Jazz by at home by 6. They beat the Lakers by 10. They beat the Blazers at home by 10. The Nuggets by 7. That's a couple of shots that don't go in versus Sam Hauser 8 of 10 from 3. Those types of things, it's as simple as shots falling versus not. But I don't think oversimplifying it as, well, they're hitting threes and and they're winning, and when they don't hit threes, they lose. I think they're hitting the threes because of the way they're playing. And I think there's less settling, there's more generating, and there's a comfort level. Guys like Derek White and Hauser and Pritchard have gotten back to the types of hitting the types of shots that they should hit. And frankly, those were the guys. White, Hauser, and Pritchard, the most, were off in December and January. They were way the F off in those 2 months. And they are back at least at a normal level. Like what did Pritchard shoot in this? Like 5 of 13 against Sacramento? Which is like what, 37%? Like, that's normal. It's above average. It's maybe a little bit below what he normally shoots, but it's good enough where the volume is there, the gravity is there, you hit enough shots, and you help keep you help keep a lead as opposed to losing a lead.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I was looking this up the other day because I was like, oh man, like Sam Hauser's really been coming on strong. And it's like, he's been hitting a lot more threes, right? But it's like, even in like, you go back to December, he shot 42.6% from three. January, 42.6% from three. And obviously February, 46%, March, 45.7. So it's like, there is a spike there. Like, he is hitting more, but it's just funny because it's like, even when you go back, it's like he was making 3-pointers, like Hauser was, like, and I mean, Pritchard, to your point, it's like he's making a reasonable amount. They're not, what they're making right now is not super unsustainable. I think that's the thing that's like, maybe Hauser to an extent, right? Hauser's got a heater, and this is just kind of what he does. And there's going to be stretches where he's cold, and there's going to be stretches where he's unsustainably hot, and like, that's what you get. And
right. That's the Sam Hauser experience.
That's Sam Hauser. But like Derek White, Payton Pritchard, like, these are guys who have just kind of found their level. And I think that's, if you're the Celtics, I think that's where you take some another kind of positive note from this, where it's like, yeah, like this could continue like all the way through the postseason. That's a big part of your game plan, is these guys continuing to play the way that they traditionally have within this system. So
let's continue this discussion about the bench guys, because this is where the bench guys I think it's where the Celtics have really been shining the most, especially with a lot of guys being in and out. Very reminiscent of last year. We'll talk about that when we come back. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA, Locked On NBA Game Night, both on the same feed. I'm on that game night show Thursday nights, so it's the Friday podcast. All of Thursday night's games, I got you covered with me and Jake Madison. So go check it out. But we're there 7 days a week on that show, 5 days a week in the afternoon, Locked On NBA, which is a more debate style show. They're both in the same feed, so go check that out. Celtics bench has been very good lately. They are I pulled a stat like offensive rebounding, because this is where I did a whole big thing on Boston Sports Journal about Luke Kornet, where his offensive rebound has been great, but Payton Pritchard's offensive rebounding is great. The leaders in second chance points on the Celtics are Pritchard, Tatum, Brown, and Luke Kornet. So Pritchard gets a ton of second chance points, some of them on his own offensive rebounds, but a lot of times the offensive rebounds get tipped out to him and he hits the shots. Kornet is getting his own putbacks, and obviously Tatum and Brown, a lot of tip outs to those guys. A lot of those guys are counting by three. The Celtics bench is not necessarily putting out like monster numbers all the time, but they have been pretty good lately. In Pritchard against the Kings, Pritchard had a big night. Kornet contributed 13 points. Like when they outscored, I forget what the numbers, I don't have it right in front of me. It's like 43-18 or something like that bench points. The Celtics never lose if you're going to get that kind of bench production, but the bench production has been so good lately that I think that's part of why the 11-1 March has happened. And that's why there's so much optimism about what's happening, is that Pritchard off the bench has been, sixth man of the year worthy.
Yeah.
Hauser has been hitting his shots, but Luke Kornet has been coming in and just playing great in Porzingis' absence. When Porzingis is back, Luke has been playing just solid basketball. Almost doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
But he has been playing like the most solid basketball any basketball player has ever played. It's like pristinely solid basketball. It's hard to describe.
No, for sure. I mean, I think one of the ones like Kornet and Tatum, right, per cleaning the glass together, they're that two-man lineup when they're on the floor, 1,553 possessions. Like they've been out there a lot this season, those two, and plus 13.1. Right, like outscoring opponents by 13.1. And I mean, that's, like when you get 1,500 possessions, you're not going to get usually not going to get like the plus 55 type crazy stuff that you sometimes get. Yeah. But like 13 is like, that's really good. That's your backup center playing who plays a ton of minutes with Tatum. I think that's one of the areas where when you look at the Celtics big rotation and you're like, I wrote this the other day on Boston.com. It's kind of funny how before last year, the Celtics big depth was a real area of concern. Like people were really worried about that because Al Horford was aging and Kristaps Porzingis is injury prone. And a year and a half and a championship later, three things have borne out to be true. Al Horford is aging and Kristaps Porzingis is injury prone. Also, it doesn't matter. I don't know, I'm getting balloons.
Oh, wow, balloons.
Also, it doesn't matter, like they've been able to mix and match this so well. A lot of that is because Kornet is really good. Like,
yes.
So yeah, like I don't know. It's a very interesting dynamic to me. And I think I don't know. I really enjoy Kornet. Like he's just such a big kind of doofy guy out there sometimes. He's also just like a really good basketball player. Like, I don't know. It just works.
People on the audio feed are like, what are you talking about? Why did you just say balloons in the middle of nowhere? Because Tom held up three fingers, and I don't know if the three fingers, the two or the three, created balloons on his video thing.
My
Yeah, I don't know what it
mine.
was.
I
Does it
got
think
balloons.
it's like your third birthday? I'm this many, and then it gave you birthday balloons. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
it's one of those crazy things that happens only on video. Yeah, Luke has been phenomenal because he doesn't try to do too much. He knows what he needs to do, and he is very good at operating in Tatum's wake. Like it's like Tatum is the speedboat cutting through the water, and Luke is just on a boogie board behind him, like enjoying the hell out of himself, just swimming in that wake. And you know, he's always in great position to catch a lob. And when you're in position to catch a lob, that means you're also in position to catch an offensive rebound. Because you're in the same spot. It's the same concept. Just is the ball coming straight to you, or is it coming off of the rim? He is aware of where he should be. He catches the ball on the short roll and will pass. So much so that against the Kings, he caught the ball once, spun and hit a hook shot in the middle of the paint. And I'm like, he never takes that shot. I was amazed that he took that shot.
Yeah.
Because he always passes out of that. And I was like, whoa, that's new. Kornet is just so good at making the exact right play when he needs to make it. And look, sometimes the shot doesn't go in, sometimes the pass doesn't connect, but it always seems to be the right read.
Yeah. When you read and you kind of learn about like player development, like one of the things that you see a lot is like, like I think people can get really caught up in trying to improve their weaknesses, but like a lot of the best players, especially at the pro level, have what they've actually done is done a great job of creating super strengths, right? It's like, take the things that you're good at and get so good at them that you have to be out there because it's such an asset for your team.
That's
like Luke Kornet is not working on his pick and pop three. Like that's not the thing that he needs to be doing. The thing that he does is just precisely one, what he's good at, and two, what the Celtics need from him. And that has just made him such a valuable part of this team because he's not out here trying to work on his handle. He's not trying to turn, he's just hitting his strengths and making them into super strengths.
That's such a good point. When you talk about being an all-star in your role,
that's
exactly it, right? It's exactly what Luke does. He could, and he does shoot threes in warm-ups and stuff, but
he used to shoot them. Yeah.
He used to shoot them. I'm fine with him not shooting them.
Absolutely.
Every once in a while, I see like a post pop up somewhere like, I wish Luke shot threes. Like, listen, we don't need another dude shooting threes on this team. He's fine where he is.
You don't need Luke doing anything besides precisely what Luke is doing.
Literally exactly what he's doing. And he's done so well. If he's on the baseline, he knows how to relocate on the baseline. And I know the other day on not Comcast, what am I talking about? NBC Sports Boston, they were talking about like who's better. They're busting Chris Forsberg. Scal was about, admit it. Luke's better than Robert Williams. Go ahead and admit it. Say it. And Forsberg keeping up with the bit and never really said it exactly. But to Scal's point, one of the things that I always got on Rob about was he didn't know how to relocate on the baseline. He was still learning that. Luke does that. He knows how to relocate so he can present himself for a pass or be in position for an offensive rebound. He knows when he should be in that dunker spot. He knows when he should rotate out of it. He does it all so well. And when you can bring him in and he does that well, and you have a guy on the floor that doesn't need the ball, that doesn't need plays run for him, and he can just do all that connective tissue stuff
with this roster.
Yeah, man. Like that's why Jaylen can be a shell of himself and we're still working his way back. Fine. I feel like Jaylen will get to where he needs to be. Jayson leaves with an injury. What you need these guys to do doesn't change. And that's one of the absolute strengths of the Celtics is you don't have to change your play style when guys are in or out. You just got to, the reads are just a little bit different maybe.
Yeah.
But Luke still does what he does. And maybe it's Payton Pritchard throwing him the lob, but he still does what he does. And doing that stuff to basically perfection is why the Celtics are as good as they are. Because a lot of teams have talented starting lineups. But these supplementary pieces do what they need to do. The bench guys coming in, doing what they need to do and not trying to do too much. That's why you're 11-1 in March. That's why you're back in a 60-win pace. And that's why people look at the Celtics and go, oh yeah, see, these are the favorites. That's these guys right here.
Yeah. I do want to briefly defend Rob Williams' honor and say that he also did not need the ball in his hands all the time. I will say that about Rob. I also think that healthy Rob Williams would have been a much better player than Luke Kornet. But we'll never know because, unfortunately, God hates us, and we will.
I love Robert Williams. Let me be clear. I love Robert Williams. I never wanted him to go. No. I do agree that a healthy Rob playing in this way. They ran the offense. I remember arguing that you need to run the offense through Robert Williams in the high post a lot. Yeah. Like that was definitely a thing. He is an incredible passer. He is an incredible basketball player when he's healthy. He's just never healthy. That's what sucks. He is one of the most fun basketball players to watch when he is
to talk to watch,
absolutely to be around. Yeah. He is legitimately one of the nicest guys, carefree. And when he is healthy and playing his best, a truly special player. He can do a lot. It's just, we've gotten robbed of a lot of Rob. Yeah. Anyway, well, we did it.
I was going to make a big Baylor Scheierman point, which was just, all right.
Yeah.
No, it was just that. I can sum it up. Hey, wow, huh? Baylor Scheierman, huh?
Huh? Yeah.
Baylor Scheierman. Yeah, behind the back pass.
Sweet.
Nifty.
Yeah. I talked to him a little bit. I talked about him a little bit in yesterday's podcast. So it's, but
I just wanted to also say,
Baylor. I don't think he's going to make anything. He's going to do anything in the playoffs. But each time he does this, you feel like,
it's gotten beyond. It's no longer just like a rookie who it's no longer just a rookie doing something at the end of a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is now now I'm intrigued about next year. Now I'm
very much intrigued
about next year now.
Yeah. To the point where, and I don't want to turn this into a whole, because this is a different podcast, but no, when people are talking about maybe this means you can trade Sam Hauser, like, no. You keep them both.
Mm-hmm.
You keep them both because Sam Hauser is also cheap. And
very different players too. Like, I know why you all say that they're the same.
Yes,
but they're different players.
They're different players, and you can play them both together. And they're
absolutely.
Why get rid of? You're not trying to get rid of the cheap guys.
No,
you're trying to get rid of the expensive guys.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean.
Like, I also understand why you would rather trade Sam Hauser than certain other people who are more likely to get traded. But
yes,
I get that too. But
yes, but that's not how it's going to go. And guys like Sam and Baylor, oh my God, the Celtics might have the holy grail here in, the future of maybe a rotation player on a rookie contract.
Yeah.
What for a second apron team? You now you can get out of the second apron and be like, hey, it's not so bad because Scheierman could be productive as a second year player. You never know. That's a different podcast, but that could be one of the most impactful things to go right for Brad Stevens. Luke Kornet is one of the most impactful things to go right for Brad Stevens. The Scheierman pick could be when we look back on it, wow, what an important time to hit on the 30th overall pick.
Not trade into the second round everybody thought you were going to do. To just be like, you know what? No, I think this guy, if that works.
Yeah.
Well done, dude.
In that spot, you're right. You're right. Because you're committing guaranteed money. There's a deeper conversation to be had there. But yes, it's an excellent point of that we're making at the end of the podcast that almost nobody listens to. Brad not trading into the second round and being like, Baylor Scheierman, not Baylor Scheierman. Like, they were like, yes, actually, we'll take him.
We'll take 4 years of that. Thank you. Yes, please.
Yeah. We need to explore that deeper. That might be an off-season podcast, but that's an
Right,
excellent
listen,
point.
There's a lot of regular season left. That might be
It might be tomorrow's podcast, actually. All right, Tom. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man.
So great. This is why you listen to the whole podcast, because you never know when a strong point will be made. And frankly, we were due for a strong point. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this show. I do thank you all for being here with us. It is to me a great honor to be a part of your daily routine and part of the enhancement of your Celtics enjoyment. So thank you so much. I hope you're a subscriber. If you're not, please do subscribe. This way, this podcast shows up directly in your favorite podcasting app. And then you can get into the YouTube comments page. This way you can share your opinions. It's a great place to go. Be with like-minded Celtics fans. Share your thoughts there. And then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.